Mental health is an issue that has been at the forefront of discussions in recent years. In many ways, it feels as though the world is becoming more aware of mental health struggles, but in other ways it also feels like we are just beginning to scratch the surface of understanding what mental health truly means. Mental health is not just the absence of mental illness, but rather a state of well-being in which individuals can realize their potential, cope with the stresses of life, work productively, and contribute to their community. Unfortunately, the stigma around mental health still remains strong, and despite increased awareness, there are many myths, misconceptions, and misunderstandings that continue to influence the way people view mental health and those who struggle with it. In today's world, we are facing an unprecedented mental health crisis. Rates of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues are higher than ever before, particularly among younger generations. Social media, the economy, and societal pressures are just a few of the factors contributing to this surge. Mental health issues are no longer confined to just a small percentage of the population. It's no longer an issue only faced by a few. Mental health has now become a global concern affecting millions of people. Yet despite the rising numbers, many still find it difficult to talk about their struggles. The stigma surrounding mental health makes it incredibly hard for people to seek help, often leading to isolation, shame, and silence. We live in a society that constantly demands more from individuals. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, there is an unrelenting pressure to perform, achieve, and succeed. Whether it's at work, school, or in our personal lives, there's always something we are expected to do or be. This pressure has escalated in the digital age. With the rise of social media, we are constantly bombarded with images of success, happiness, and perfection. The more we scroll, the more we see the ideal life that others seem to be living. This constant comparison can take a significant toll on mental health. People start to feel inadequate when they compare their behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. The problem with this culture of constant comparison is that it undermines our sense of self-worth. Social media often portrays life in a filtered, curated way, showcasing only the good and glossing over the struggles, the failures, and the difficult moments. This creates a warped sense of reality. We begin to believe that everyone else has it all together and that we are the only ones struggling. The truth is, no one has a perfect life, and behind every picture, there's a person dealing with their own challenges. But the pressure to appear flawless can make us feel like we're not enough, like we don't measure up to the unrealistic standards that social media creates. It's important to understand that mental health struggles don't just happen in a vacuum. They are influenced by a wide range of factors. One major factor is the economy. In recent years, we've seen an increase in economic instability, with rising unemployment rates, skyrocketing housing costs, and the growing burden of student loan debt. Financial stress has become a major contributor to mental health issues. People who are struggling to make ends meet or feeling the weight of financial insecurity often experience high levels of anxiety and depression. The constant worry about paying bills, supporting a family, or securing a future can feel overwhelming. This financial pressure can take a toll on both physical and mental health, leading to a sense of helplessness and despair. At the same time, the rise of the gig economy has made it even harder for people to find stability. More and more people are working freelance, part-time, or temporary jobs, which can create uncertainty about the future. The lack of job security, health benefits, and retirement plans leaves many people feeling like they're stuck in a cycle they can't escape. This sense of instability can be incredibly damaging to mental health. People need stability and security in order to thrive, and when that is taken away, it can lead to feelings of anxiety, fear, and depression. The constant pressure to perform and the fear of falling behind in a rapidly changing economy can exacerbate mental health issues. While economic stress plays a significant role in the mental health crisis, it's not the only factor. Social media has created an environment where comparison and competition are at an all-time high. People are now judged based on how many likes, shares, or followers they have. Our worth is measured by our online presence rather than our real-world actions. This has led to a culture of performative living, where people are more concerned with how they appear online than with their true selves. It's no surprise that social media is closely linked to anxiety and depression. The constant pressure to present a perfect image of yourself, to fit into a mold, and to live up to the standards set by influencers, celebrities, and brands can feel like a never-ending race. But the truth is, social media isn't real. It's a curated version of reality, and it's important to remember that what we see online is only a small snapshot of someone's life. The images of perfect bodies, relationships, careers, and vacations are often filtered, edited, or taken out of context. Behind every post, there is a human being who is just as imperfect as the rest of us. But because we are constantly exposed to these idealized versions of reality, we begin to internalize the belief that we are falling short. This creates a disconnect between our real selves and the personas we create online. We become more concerned with how others perceive us than with our own sense of self-worth. In addition to social media and financial stress, the fast-paced nature of modern life has also contributed to the mental health crisis. We live in a world where we are always on the go. We have to juggle work, school, family, friends, and personal responsibilities. The constant pressure to keep up with the demands of modern life can be exhausting. People are often expected to work longer hours, be available at all times, and perform at their highest level without taking the time to rest or recharge. This burnout is real. It's not just about being physically tired, it's about being emotionally drained. The constant juggling act that many people face leads to stress, anxiety, and a sense of being overwhelmed. The fear of not measuring up, of not being able to handle everything can feel suffocating. Mental health struggles are also heavily influenced by the expectations placed on individuals. In many cultures, there is still a stigma surrounding mental health. People are often told to toughen up, keep going, or just push through. This mentality minimizes the real impact of mental health issues and encourages individuals to ignore their struggles rather than address them. Mental health is often seen as a personal weakness or a failure to cope, when in reality it is a medical condition that requires attention and care. The reluctance to talk about mental health and the pressure to suffer in silence can make things even worse for those who are struggling. The longer people go without getting help, the more isolated and alone they feel. This stigma prevents people from reaching out for support, leading to a cycle of shame and isolation that can be incredibly difficult to break. However, despite the challenges, the mental health conversation is evolving. There is a growing recognition that mental health is just as important as physical health, and that we need to prioritize mental well-being in order to live fulfilling, healthy lives. In recent years, celebrities, public figures, and influencers have started to speak openly about their own mental health struggles. This has helped normalize the conversation and made it easier for others to share their experiences. While there is still a long way to go in terms of breaking down stigma, the growing acceptance of mental health discussions is a positive step forward. One of the most important aspects of mental health is self-care. In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's essential that we take the time to care for ourselves. Self-care isn't just about bubble baths and face masks, it's about setting boundaries, saying no when we need to, and taking the time to rest and recharge. It's about doing the things that bring us joy and fulfillment, whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a hobby, or simply enjoying a quiet moment alone. In a world that encourages constant productivity, self-care is an act of resistance. It's a way of telling ourselves that we are worthy of rest, of peace, and of mental well-being. Therapy is another essential tool in maintaining good mental health. While it may still carry some stigma, therapy is a vital resource for anyone who is struggling. Talking to a professional can help individuals gain a deeper understanding of their emotions, develop coping strategies, and work through their challenges. Therapy is not just for people with severe mental health issues, it's for anyone who wants to improve their mental well-being and better understand themselves. Mental health care should be a regular part of self-care, just as we take care of our physical health through exercise, diet, and sleep. Another important aspect of mental health is building strong, supportive relationships. We are social creatures, and human connection is essential for our well-being. Having a support system, friends, family, or a community can provide a sense of belonging and help us navigate life's challenges. Having people we can turn to for advice, comfort, or just a listening ear can make all the difference. It's essential to surround ourselves with people who lift us up, who understand us, and who support us through our struggles. Being open and honest about our feelings and struggles is crucial in maintaining good mental health. The rapid technological advancements we've seen in recent decades have altered the landscape of mental health in ways we're still grappling with. While technology has brought incredible innovations and conveniences, it has also introduced new challenges that have intensified the mental health crisis. The constant presence of screens, phones, computers, televisions has created an environment where we are always on. This constant connectivity has eroded the boundaries between work and personal life. Emails, messages, and notifications are a constant reminder that we are always expected to be available and responsive, even during our downtime. This has blurred the lines between relaxation and productivity, creating an environment where people are never fully able to switch off. The idea of rest, of truly disconnecting from the demands of daily life, has become increasingly elusive. The mental health consequences of this never-ending connectivity are far-reaching. With the rise of remote work, for example, many people find it difficult to separate their personal life from their professional life. The office used to be a distinct place, a space where you went to work and then left behind once you were done. Now work is often with us at all times, whether it's via emails that flood our inbox or the constant pull of tasks and meetings that can be accessed on our phones. This perpetual state of being on contributes significantly to stress and burnout. Instead of leaving work at the office, we carry it with us everywhere we go. The idea of work-life balance is no longer just about managing time, it's about managing boundaries, and those boundaries are harder to maintain in today's world. Beyond the workplace, technology has also revolutionized the way we communicate with each other. While platforms like social media, messaging apps, and video calls have made it easier to stay connected with people all over the world, they have also changed the quality of our interactions. In many ways, our relationships have shifted from deep, personal connections to more superficial exchanges. Social media platforms are designed to encourage short bursts of interaction, likes, comments, retweets, but they don't foster meaningful conversations or emotional depth. The result is that we're often left with the illusion of connection, while real, authentic relationships are sacrificed for fleeting digital exchanges. This shift in communication is particularly harmful to mental health because human beings crave connection. We thrive on real, face-to-face interactions where we can feel seen, heard, and understood. Yet more and more people find themselves isolated in the digital world, surrounded by thousands of friends, but feeling lonelier than ever before. It's easy to post a picture, share an update, or send a message, but those digital interactions don't provide the emotional nourishment that true human connection offers. Without the opportunity to connect on a deeper level, feelings of loneliness and isolation continue to grow. And it's not just about having people around, it's about having the right kind of people. Relationships that are based on surface-level interactions or social media likes fail to provide the emotional support and validation we need to maintain good mental health. Another troubling aspect of modern life that affects mental health is the growing pressure to be constantly busy. The idea of hustling and grinding has been glorified in recent years. Everywhere we turn, there's advice on how to work harder, be more productive, and push ourselves further. Social media influencers, entrepreneurs, and even motivational speakers constantly tout the idea that success is achieved by working tirelessly, making sacrifices, and putting in long hours. While ambition and hard work are important, this relentless pursuit of productivity has led to a culture of burnout. The constant pressure to be busy and productive has left little room for rest, relaxation, and self-care. In this environment, people begin to measure their self-worth by how much they accomplish. If you're not busy all the time, if you're not working toward a goal, then you're seen as lazy or unambitious. This creates a toxic cycle where people push themselves beyond their limits in order to keep up with the demands of modern life. They prioritize productivity over well-being, sacrificing their mental health in the process. Burnout, anxiety, and depression have become increasingly common as people struggle to meet the demands of work, family, and personal life. The pressure to be constantly busy leaves no room for pause, for reflection, or for self-compassion. This pressure to be always productive has also contributed to a rise in perfectionism. People today are expected to excel in every area of their lives, from their careers to their health to their relationships. The standards are impossibly high, and the fear of failure is overwhelming. Perfectionism is deeply linked to mental health struggles, particularly anxiety and depression. When we set unattainably high standards for ourselves, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment and failure. The fear of not being perfect can cause constant self-criticism and feelings of inadequacy. Perfectionists often struggle to accept mistakes or imperfections, which leads to anxiety, stress, and a lack of self-compassion. At the same time, we are also facing a mental health crisis within the younger generations. Studies show that anxiety and depression rates among teenagers and young adults have been steadily rising, and many experts believe that social media is a significant contributor to this trend. Teenagers today are constantly exposed to the pressures of social media. They are navigating the challenges of growing up in a digital world where their lives are constantly being compared to those of their peers. The pressure to look a certain way, to live up to expectations, and to get validation from online likes can be overwhelming. In fact, research has shown that teens who spend more than 3 hours per day on social media are more likely to experience mental health problems like depression, anxiety, and loneliness. Social media has created a new form of bullying known as cyberbullying. Unlike traditional bullying, which was confined to schoolyards and physical spaces, cyberbullying takes place online, where it can be relentless and invisible to adults. Teenagers and young adults are particularly vulnerable to online harassment, and the psychological toll can be devastating. Cyberbullying can lead to anxiety, depression, and in some cases, suicidal thoughts. The ability to hide behind screens and harass others without facing consequences has created a toxic online culture, especially for young people who are still learning how to navigate the complexities of self-worth, relationships, and social interactions. While social media may be one of the biggest contributors to the mental health crisis among young people, it's also important to recognize the growing challenges in the education system. The pressure to succeed academically has reached an all-time high. Students are expected to perform at the highest level, participate in extracurricular activities, and maintain a perfect image both online and offline. The fear of failure and the desire to live up to these expectations has created a culture of academic stress that affects students' mental health. Many students experience burnout, anxiety, and depression as a result of the overwhelming pressure to succeed. This is compounded by the growing financial strain of paying for higher education. Student loan debt has become a significant source of stress for young people, with many facing the anxiety of potentially never being able to pay it off. In addition to academic pressure, young people are also grappling with the uncertainty of the future. The world they are entering is vastly different from the one their parents grew up in. Climate change, political instability, economic uncertainty, and the rapid advancement of technology have created a world where the future feels uncertain and unpredictable. The constant bombardment of negative news can create feelings of hopelessness and fear. The pressure to make the right choices and secure a stable future in a rapidly changing world can be overwhelming for young people who are still figuring out their place in the world. As we navigate these complex challenges, it's important to recognize the value of seeking help when needed. Therapy and counseling are essential resources for anyone struggling with mental health issues. Therapy provides individuals with the tools they need to cope with their struggles, manage stress, and develop healthier ways of thinking. It's crucial that we normalize therapy and make it more accessible to everyone. Mental health care should not be a luxury. It should be available to anyone who needs it. In many countries, however, access to mental health care is still limited, and there is a significant gap in the availability of services. The stigma surrounding mental health also makes it difficult for people to seek help, but we are seeing a shift in this mentality, with more people openly discussing their struggles and advocating for better mental health care. We must also recognize the importance of self-care. While therapy is a critical resource, self-care is something we can all practice on a daily basis. Self-care isn't just about taking a bubble bath or going for a walk. It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing our well-being, and taking time to recharge. It's about saying no to things that drain us and saying yes to things that bring us joy. It's about listening to our bodies and minds and giving ourselves permission to rest when we need it. In a society that values productivity above all else, self-care is an act of resistance. It's a reminder that our mental health is just as important as anything else in our lives. At the same time, we must work toward creating a world that supports mental health. This means advocating for better access to mental health services, reducing stigma, and building a culture that prioritizes well-being over perfection. We need to start having more open and honest conversations about mental health and making sure that no one feels like they have to suffer in silence. It's time to challenge the notion that we need to tough it out and acknowledge that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Mental health should be treated with the same importance as physical health, and we must all do our part to create a society that values both. As we move forward, it's essential to take the lessons we've learned about mental health and put them into action. The truth is, mental health is a shared responsibility. It's not just about the individual, it's about the community, the workplace, the family, and society as a whole. Together, we can create an environment that supports mental well-being and helps individuals thrive in a world that is often overwhelming. By prioritizing mental health, challenging stigma, and practicing self-care, we can begin to shift the narrative and create a future where mental well-being is not just an afterthought, but a fundamental part of our lives. As we've seen, the mental health crisis in today's world is multifaceted. It is deeply influenced by the environment, society's evolving pressures, and personal experiences that are exacerbated by external circumstances. The path forward, however, requires a systemic shift in how we understand and prioritize mental health, both individually and collectively. It's not enough to simply acknowledge mental health struggles. We need to take action on both the societal and personal levels, and this process starts with education and creating spaces where people feel supported, not judged. One of the key aspects in improving mental health outcomes is changing the conversation around it. There's still a prevalent misconception that mental health issues are something to be ashamed of, that they are signs of weakness or a lack of resilience. But the truth is that mental health challenges are universal. No one is immune. They don't care about how successful someone is, how much money they make, or how many followers they have on social media. Mental health issues affect people from all walks of life, from the person struggling in silence to the celebrity with millions of fans. The idea that mental health struggles should be hidden in the shadows only perpetuates the cycle of shame and isolation. It's important to remove the stigma surrounding mental health so people can seek help without fear of being judged. Educational initiatives are an important part of breaking down that stigma. The more people are educated about mental health, the more equipped they will be to recognize the signs, offer support, and seek help when necessary. Mental health education needs to be integrated into school curriculums, workplaces, and public public health initiatives. When people understand that mental health is just as important as physical health, they are more likely to take care of their mental well-being and reach out for support when they need it. It also encourages those around them to offer compassion and understanding, rather than judgment or pity. In addition to education, we must also focus on accessibility. Too often, mental health services are seen as a luxury, something that only those with resources can afford. In reality, everyone should have access to mental health care. This includes not only therapy and counseling, but also access to medications, group support, and other resources that help people cope with their struggles. Unfortunately, the cost of mental health care remains a significant barrier for many. In some countries, the mental health system is underfunded and overwhelmed, making it difficult for individuals to get the care they need. This disparity in access to care has a direct impact on the well-being of those who need help the most. This disparity is also seen in marginalized communities. People from lower income backgrounds, people of color, and other marginalized groups often face additional barriers to accessing mental health care. They may be less likely to seek help due to cultural stigmas, financial difficulties, or a lack of trust in the system. There is also a disproportionate impact of mental health challenges in these communities. For example, research has shown that individuals from low-income communities are more likely to experience mental health problems due to factors such as financial stress, lack of social support, and exposure to violence. Additionally, people of color may face unique challenges when it comes to mental health care, such as racial discrimination or a lack of culturally competent care providers. To address this, it's crucial that mental health care is made accessible and culturally sensitive for all people, regardless of their background. Workplaces also play a major role in mental health, yet many organizations fail to prioritize the mental well-being of their employees. As the demands of work continue to increase, the pressures on employees to perform at their highest level can lead to stress, burnout, and emotional exhaustion. In fact, the World Health Organization has recognized burnout as a legitimate medical condition. However, despite this, many workplaces still lack the infrastructure to support employees who are struggling with mental health issues. Too often, people are expected to push through their struggles, ignoring their emotional and mental needs in favor of getting the job done. In some industries, work culture promotes the idea of constant availability, where employees are expected to answer emails at all hours, attend endless meetings, and perform under high pressure without any relief. This constant pressure leads to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Workplaces need to take mental health seriously. Creating an environment where employees feel safe to talk about their struggles and offering mental health support services are critical steps toward promoting well-being. Some companies have already begun implementing employee assistance programs, counseling services, and wellness initiatives, but there is still much work to be done. Employers should be encouraged to not only recognize the importance of mental health, but to actively invest in creating healthy work environments. This means offering flexible work schedules, promoting work-life balance, and encouraging employees to take time off when needed. At the same time, individuals must also learn how to advocate for their own mental health needs. One of the key components of managing mental health is learning how to recognize when you need help and having the courage to ask for it. This can be particularly difficult in environments where mental health struggles are not openly discussed or supported, but being proactive in seeking help, whether through therapy, medication, or lifestyle changes, is essential for long-term well-being. Learning how to prioritize self-care and set boundaries is also vital. It's easy to become overwhelmed when we don't give ourselves the time and space we need to recharge. Setting boundaries at work, with family, and in social situations is crucial for preserving our mental health. In addition to professional support, it's important to recognize the role that social support plays in mental health. Strong relationships are one of the best buffers against mental health problems. When we have a network of friends, family, or community members who can provide emotional support, we are better able to cope with stress, loss, and difficult emotions. Having someone to talk to who listens without judgment and provides empathy and understanding is invaluable when navigating mental health challenges. This is why it's so important to foster supportive relationships and seek out people who can help you feel seen and heard. Sometimes, though, it's hard to know where to turn when we are feeling mentally overwhelmed. That's when professional mental health care becomes especially important. Therapy is an excellent resource for those who are dealing with mental health issues, whether they are mild or severe. Therapy can help individuals gain a deeper understanding of their emotions, thought patterns, and behaviors, and provide the tools necessary to manage their mental health. Cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness practices, and talk therapy are just a few of the effective therapeutic options available. For some people, medication may also be necessary to manage conditions such as anxiety, depression, or bipolar disorder. One of the challenges when it comes to seeking professional mental health care is finding the right therapist or counselor. Not all therapists are a good fit for every individual, and it can take time to find someone who you feel comfortable with. This is where persistence is key. It's important to remember that therapy is not a quick fix. It's a process that takes time, but with the right support, people can make significant progress toward healing. Finding the right treatment, whether it's therapy, medication, or a combination of both, can be life-changing for those who are struggling with mental health challenges. Another factor that has contributed to the rise in mental health issues is the lack of focus on prevention. In many cases, mental health care is seen as something that comes into play only after a crisis has occurred. But in reality, prevention is just as important as intervention. Mental health should be part of our daily well-being routine, much like physical exercise and nutrition. We should make it a habit to check in with ourselves regularly and address any emotional or psychological struggles before they become overwhelming. Practices such as mindfulness, meditation, exercise, and healthy eating are all important ways to support mental health on a daily basis. Prevention also extends to childhood and adolescence. By teaching children and teenagers about mental health from a young age, we can help them develop the skills to manage stress, anxiety, and difficult emotions before they become entrenched. Schools should prioritize mental health education, teaching students how to recognize mental health challenges, seek support, and practice self-care. This not only helps to create a more mentally resilient generation, but also reduces the stigma surrounding mental health, allowing young people to grow up in an environment where seeking help is normalized and encouraged. As we move forward, it's clear that we must continue to push for greater awareness, greater accessibility, and greater support for mental health. The mental health crisis is not something that can be solved overnight, but it is something that we can tackle together. It requires systemic change, a shift in how we view mental health, and an investment in both prevention and treatment. The more we talk about mental health, the more we reduce stigma, and the more likely it is that those who are struggling will feel empowered to seek help. We all have a role to play in improving mental health in today's world, whether it's supporting a loved one, advocating for better access to mental health care, or practicing self-care. Every small step we take can help create a world where mental health is no longer seen as a taboo or something to be ashamed of. By investing in mental health, we are investing in the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. It's time to prioritize mental health as a vital part of our overall health, and in doing so, we can create a healthier, happier world for everyone.